Can I be honest with you about something embarrassing? For over a decade, I thought I was a decent gardener. I had my little rows of bush beans going every summer. I'd get down on my knees in the July heat, crawling through scratchy plants, sweating, picking whatever I could find. At the end of it all, I'd maybe walk away with a few bags worth of beans. I thought that was normal. I thought that was just how it worked. Turns out I was doing almost everything wrong. And I didn't figure that out from a book. I didn't figure it out from a YouTube video. I figured it out standing in a side yard in Holmes County, Ohio, staring at something I genuinely could not explain. I was visiting an Amish family, the Yoders. Big household, lots of kids, always something going on. I asked if I could walk their garden. They said sure. And that's when I saw it. These simple wooden structures, rough poles tied together, about 3 feet wide at the base. Nothing fancy, but the bean vines climbing up them were 8 feet tall. And they weren't just tall, they were absolutely covered in pods. I mean, every inch of those vines had beans hanging off them. The mother, Sarah, walked over with a basket. No rushing, no fuss, just steady hands moving through the vines. 20 minutes later, the basket was full. I asked her how much she gets off one of those towers in a season. She thought about it and said, "Oh, 40, maybe 50 pounds, sometimes more. Off a 3-foot square of ground. I'll be straight with you. I didn't believe her. I thought she was exaggerating. She wasn't. Today I'm going to walk you through exactly how the Amish grow beans like this. Step by step, everything I learned. And stay with me until the end because I'm going to share one watering trick I picked up from an Amish grandmother that nearly wiped out my blossom drop problem completely. I've never seen it written down anywhere, not once. Now, before we get into the steps, I want to share something that unlocked all of this for me mentally. The Amish have a word, Gelassenheit. It roughly means yielding, letting things be what they are. In the garden, it means you stop forcing your system onto the plant and start working with what the plant actually wants to do. Here's the thing about a bean plant. It doesn't want to be a little bush. It wants to climb. It wants to go up. It's reaching for light every single day. And when you give it the structure and the soil to do that, it pays you back in a way that feels almost unfair. I had been thinking horizontally my whole life. How much ground can I cover? The Amish think vertically. How much sky can I fill? Once that shift happened in my brain, everything else made sense. And the science backs this up completely. Research from the University of Florida Extension found that pole beans produce roughly double the yield per square foot compared to bush varieties. Double. Same ground, same sun, more beans. But the Amish method goes even further than standard pole bean growing because they're combining several things at once that most gardeners never think to stack together. Let me walk you through it. Step 1. Prepare the soil like you actually mean it. This is where most people, including me for years, completely drop the ball. The Amish don't just loosen the top few inches and call it ready. For their bean towers, they dig the whole planting area about 18 inches deep. Not 6, 18. The bottom 6 inches gets filled with well-aged compost, the kind that's been sitting in a pile for at least a year. Then the native soil goes back in mixed with more compost, wood ash from the stove, and crushed eggshells. The whole bed gets mounded up a few inches above the surrounding ground. Now here's why this matters, and this part genuinely fascinated me. Beans are legumes, and legumes form a relationship with soil bacteria called rhizobia. These bacteria attach to the roots and create tiny nodules, little pockets where they pull nitrogen straight out of the air and convert it into a form the plant can use. It's called biological nitrogen fixation. The plant is basically making its own fertilizer underground. But those bacteria need loose, aerated soil with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0 to actually work. The wood ash nudges acidic soil toward neutral. The deep compost creates the drainage and air movement those bacteria need to thrive. The Amish have never heard the word rhizobia, but they've been feeding those bacteria for 200 years without knowing it. For timing, if you're in zones 3 or 4, prep this bed in early May. Zones 5 through 7, late April works well. Zones 8 and 9, you can often start in late February or March. Step 2. Build the structure before anything goes in the ground. The design that worked best for me is what I call the tower teepee. 4 sturdy poles, oak or locust if you can get them, 7 to 8 feet long. Set one in each corner of your 3-foot square, angled inward so they all meet near the top. Lash them tight. Then run horizontal rings of rough twine every 12 inches, going up the whole structure, so the vines have something to grab onto as they climb. The key word there is rough, not smooth bamboo, not PVC pipe. Bean tendrils need texture or they can't grip. I used smooth poles for years and wondered why my vines kept slipping. Switched to rough twine and rough cut wood, and the difference was immediate. The vines grabbed on faster, climbed higher, and didn't collapse mid-season when a heavy rain hit. Build this structure before you put a single seed in the ground. If you come back and start hammering poles after the beans are up, you'll damage the root system. Set it up first. Step 3. Plant tighter than you think you should. Every planting guide you've ever read tells you to space pole beans 6 to 8 inches apart. The Amish go much tighter than that. Around each pole, they plant 4 to 5 seeds in a small circle, about 3 inches out from the base. That puts 16 to 20 plants in your 3-foot square. Sounds crowded, but it works because the soil preparation is so deep and rich that the plants aren't fighting each other for nutrients the way they would in average garden soil. Plant each seed about 1 inch deep. When you water them in for the first time, go slow. A watering can, not a hose. You want the soil moist like a wrung-out sponge, not soaked. Soggy soil rots bean seeds faster than almost anything else. One more thing. Don't plant until your soil temperature is consistently at 60 degrees Fahrenheit at a 2-inch depth. Buy a soil thermometer. It's a few dollars and it's one of the most useful tools I own. Cold soil slows germination and invites rot. Wait for the warmth. Step 4. Inoculate the seeds. This step takes 2 minutes and most gardeners skip it entirely. Rhizobium inoculant is a dark powder you can find at most garden centers. You dampen your seeds lightly, roll them in the powder, and plant immediately. That's it. You're introducing the nitrogen-fixing bacteria directly to the seed before it even goes in the ground. The University of Maryland Extension Program has confirmed this can meaningfully increase yields, especially on land that hasn't grown beans recently. Now, the Amish families I visited don't buy inoculant. They don't need to. They've grown beans in the same rotation for generations. Their soil is already full of those bacteria. What they do is scoop a handful of soil from last year's bean bed and mix it into each planting hole. They're transplanting a living bacterial colony. If you've been growing beans in your garden for a few years, try that. Save some root zone soil from this season to use next spring. You've already got your own inoculant. Step 5. Train the vines and manage the season. Once your seedlings reach about 6 inches tall, start gently wrapping the lead vine around the nearest pole or twine. Always go counterclockwise. That's the direction common beans naturally spiral. Go the other way and they'll fight you the entire season. For the first foot of climbing, check on your vines every couple of days. Guide them if they lose their grip. After that first foot, they figure it out on their own. Once the plants are established, mulch around the base with straw or old hay, 2 to 3 inches deep. This keeps the soil cool, holds moisture, and keeps weeds down without you having to dig around the roots with a hoe. For watering through the season, pole beans want about 1 to 1.5 inches per week. But the way you deliver that water matters just as much as how much you give them. The Amish water deeply, less often. Twice a week in dry weather, soaking the ground so water reaches the deep roots and the rhizobium nodules. They don't water a little bit every day. That kind of shallow watering builds shallow roots, and shallow roots mean a plant that wilts in the afternoon heat and drops its blossoms. Deep roots mean a plant that holds up through the tough weeks. Step 6. Pick every single day. This was the step that went from changing my yields from decent to ridiculous. Most of us go out there once or twice a week, grab the obvious ones, leave the rest. I did this for years. Here's what's actually happening biologically. When a bean plant produces mature pods with seeds swelling inside, it receives a hormonal signal. Job done. Time to slow down. It starts putting less energy into new flowers and new pods. But when you pick pods young, 4 to 6 inches long, before the seeds bulk up, you're sending the opposite signal. Keep going. You're not finished yet. The plant responds by pushing out more flowers and more pods. Sarah Yoder told me she picks into the same basket every evening right before supper. 10 minutes per tower. And those towers keep producing for 8 to 10 weeks straight. I started picking every day 3 years ago. My per-plant yield nearly doubled compared to when I was going out once a week. Same plants, same soil, same sun, just more frequent picking. Common mistakes worth calling out. Let me name a few patterns I see all the time, because I made every single one of these myself. The first one is adding nitrogen fertilizer to beans. Research published in Frontiers in Plant Science found that adding nitrogen actually suppresses the plant's natural nitrogen-fixing ability. The plant basically goes lazy. Why run an underground factory when food is already there? The Amish never add nitrogen to their bean beds. They let the plant feed itself. I stopped adding synthetic nitrogen to my beans 4 years ago, and my yields went up. The second one is sticking with bush beans because they're simpler. I understand this completely. No trellis, no fuss. But bush beans produce for 3 to 4 weeks, and they're done. Pole beans managed with daily picking produce for 8 to 10 weeks. The season-long comparison isn't close. The third one is overhead watering with a sprinkler. Wet leaves sitting in humid air are an open invitation to fungal and bacterial disease. Water at the base. Keep the foliage dry. Multiple university extension programs confirm this. Water the roots, not the plant. The fourth one is planting just one variety. The Amish always put in at least 2 or 3 varieties with different maturity dates. An early producer, a mid-season variety, sometimes a dry bean for winter storage. Continuous supply all season, and a backup if one variety struggles. It's simple planning, but it changes everything. The evening tea trick. Now here's the thing I promised you at the beginning. An Amish grandmother in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania told me this. I've tested it myself for 3 seasons, and I genuinely have not seen it in a single gardening book. On hot days, especially once the beans are flowering, she goes out in the early evening. Not morning, evening. And she pours about a cup of room temperature water directly at the base of each plant. Not a full watering, just a gentle drink. She calls it giving them their evening tea. Here's what I think is happening. Bean blossoms are extremely sensitive to heat stress. When soil temperature stays high from a hot afternoon and doesn't drop enough going into evening, the plant struggles to recover and you get blossom drop. Those little flowers just fall off. No flower, no pod. That small cup of cool water brings the root zone temperature down by just a few degrees, right at the moment the plant is trying to transition out of the stress of the day and into its nighttime recovery. Since I started doing this, my blossom drop on hot weeks went from 30 or 40% down to almost nothing. I tracked it. It takes me 5 minutes to walk my towers with a watering can in the evening. You don't need to do it every night, just on days where the temperature got above 85 degrees. Give them their evening tea. That's it. The Amish aren't doing anything magical here. No secret seeds, no special technology. They're preparing deep, rich soil, building tall structures, planting close together, feeding the biology that's already in the ground, and then showing up every single day to harvest. It's not about buying better gear. It's about paying attention. This method can take a small corner of your backyard and turn it into something that feeds your family all summer and deep into winter if you're canning or freezing. If any of you have tried something like this, or if you've spent time around Amish communities and picked up your own lessons, drop it in the comments. I read all of them. Hit subscribe if you want more of these. We're going deep into how traditional communities grow food, preserve it, and build systems that hold up year after year. I think you're going to love what's coming next. See you in the next one.